Alright, this is activity 10-10, Exploring Terminal Services, User Account Settings. We had kind of briefly touched about this before, looking under Administrative Tools, or wherever Active Directory, Users, and Computers. We want to look at Users, and for this exercise in number 2, we will look at the properties for Admin 01. And immediately you're going to see that we have two different tabs: Profile, Terminal Services Profile. Profile is your standard user login into standard machines. Terminal Services, when we host a machine, it's kind of like it's a form of virtualization. It can host a desktop, it can host just individual applications and make them look like they're installed on your local machine when in fact they're running on a remote server, an application server. Or you can set up a full-fledged desktop environment. And this is how we can control it, profile path. So we could set up some kind of basic profile for users accessing remotely. It might come in handy if you have just a bunch of Win terminals or whatever, and those are not real machines. They're just basic machines to get an embedded version of Windows or whatever running, and then they connect. And this is how you would actually set up their particular environment, their desktop, and all things that run in it. So just kind of looking through, we also want to look at the Remote Control tab, and as you can read, allows you to control settings related to whether administrators are allowed to connect to and control a user terminal server session. So if a user is currently logged in and not knowing, you can then do remote control, and you can come in here and be able to view the desktop and help interact with them. This, of course, shows it's by default allowed. Our Sessions tab is basically where we could set up, this is where you could set up certain things. Well, if you remember from the TCP RDP, down here in configuration, override user settings. This is overriding this for Active Directory users. It's overriding what the particular user account has set up. And the last tab to look at is environment. If you recall previously, we can set up if we're going to run a certain thing. So if you notice, this has some similar options to RDP, Remote Desktop, and because it's really it piggybacks the same set of services, it's just a little bit more expanded. But actually connect client drives, connect local drives. If we override, then we can tell it at the terminal server how we want to do this. So this was just kind of a run through to show you you have two different places where you can set up terminal services, options, environment, sessions, and things of that nature. When they run in conjunction with terminal services, you can either have it set up here in the user account profile in the user account object, or you can then override certain functions, if not everything, from the terminal services configuration tool. This concludes our walkthrough of activity 10-10, exploring terminal services user account settings.